Okay, well, today's topic is why Angel Gabriel is a fake. Now, to understand why that's actually true, I mean, most atheists would say, well, that's obvious, but there's no such thing as angels or devils and demons. But that's well and good, but it doesn't do anything to address the problem that if it is a fake, why are so many people around the world committed to religions that actually believe that it exists? And that's a real problem. It's actually a major problem for our world. Right now, across the globe, we've got Islam. When you speak to some of the Muslim folk, they seem highly convinced that Islam's going to take over, dominate the world. Well, I, for one, I'm not really interested in that. I don't want to live in a world. Well, I'm not going to run out and die, but or jump off a cliff because it's an inevitability. But I don't want to live in a world where Islam is a dominant force, because I know from a fair bit of research effort that Islam is a fake religion. And so today we're going to talk about this Angel Gabriel and why it's a fake, because that's important. Because this guy Muhammad, here we go. Hang on, I might have to kick him again.
No, Rob. This is somebody else, I think. I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah, all right. I'll let him stay until he misbehaves. But anyway, this guy Muhammad alleges that he went out and he's in the caves and this angel came and spoke to him, and Muslims believe that that this is the transfer of God's word through the angel Gabriel, through Muhammad and into the Quran, and they govern their life by these words, words in the Quran. The Quran is an interesting book in its own right. If you have a look at it, Muslims will have you believe that it's scientifically accurate and a brilliant piece of work, but the reality is, when you actually look at a number of the verses in the Quran, you can clearly see that it's a 7th century Arab that's writing the text, who's quite ignorant to the way the world really works. Anyway, let's get past that. Let's get back to Angel Gabriel. Angel Gabriel, when we look up the history for this particular angel, we find that it was given birth in a book called the Book of Daniel. Doesn't appear any earlier. I mean, if you ask Muslims, they're quite ignorant of this angel. They say it's an angel that spoke to Moses and Adam, but that's actually not true. There's no record of that whatsoever. The only time that the word Gabriel is mentioned is this Book of Daniel. So, what's wrong with the Book of Daniel? Well, there are a number of issues with it. The Book of Daniel, when you examine it and look at what all the scholarship is saying, you'll find that the Book of Daniel was written, all the prophecies in the Book of Daniel were completed by 160 BC. Now, if you have a chat to a Christian and ask them about what the 10 horns mean, they'll give you all manner of stories, creative, very inventive, but none of them makes quite as much sense as the actual historic record around the time of 160 BC. In 160 BC, prior to 160 BC, this is, Alexander the Great is the 4th beast that they refer to in this Book of Daniel, and he actually took over 10 kingdoms. That's historically accurate. And that's why they made the reference for the 10 horns. There's even reference in the Book of Daniel for the 10 kingdoms becoming 4 kingdoms, which is historically accurate again with Alexander. And then it talks about this little horn growing big or something bigger, and that's a guy called Antiochus for Epiphanes. So on the historical record, it's very, very clear, very clear. It can't be argued that all of the prophecies that are in this damn book, they finish 160 BC. So why is that a problem? I mean, isn't that evidence that there's a God, because all of these historical events match up perfectly? Well, there's a problem. And that problem is this. It's got to do with a thing called the Book of Jubilees. So there's this book. It was written, it's one of the older texts in the Bible, called Leviticus. Now in Leviticus it talks about this thing called a Jubilee. And what a Jubilee is, it was just a way of marking time, you know, like we mark time by using seconds, months and years. Well, they used this Leviticus marked time into 50-year blocks. There were seven blocks of 7, which gave you 49 years, and then they used to celebrate this Jubilee year on the 50th year. So what's that got to do with anything? Well, it's really interesting, because if you come forward in time to a book called the Book of Jubilees, which is, scholars say, was written 160 to 150 BC, what you find is in this Book of Jubilees, the guy that wrote it made a mistake. He only used 49 years. So he didn't use the 50th year. So that's an inconsistency. So, you know, God's being inconsistent here. But why is that interesting? Well, when you look at the Book of Daniel, you see that they use that same calendar system, the 49-year one, not the 50-year one. So that tells us quite clearly that the author of the Book of Daniel was conscious of this calendar, but not this calendar system. And it was the 49-year one, not the 50-year one. So if that's the case, then that means that the Book of Daniel must have been written around 150 BC, or between 150 and 160 BC. Now, why does that matter? Well, that matters a great deal, because it means that all of the prophecies weren't prophecies at all. What was happening is the person that was writing the Book of Daniel was writing post-mortem to the prophecies. So the prophesied events had already occurred. They were aware of them. Oh, g'day, Ben Berry, mate. But anyway, so it's a forgery of prophecy, right? That's interesting enough. So it means that how the authors of this book were scamming the population was by creating a record and then saying to the population that it was written earlier, when in fact they'd actually written it after the events. So they created this illusion. They're not the only ones. The Book of Isaiah is the same. It's an illusion of prophecy written after the event. And the Book of Revelations, there's some evidence out there too that's that allows us to know that the Book of Revelations was written around about 136 AD, and it spoke about past events as well. So here we have a series of events that are, or where people are faking prophecy. Now, if they've been fraudulent with the prophecy, then Angel Gabriel, which appears in the same book, has to be a fake as well. Why is that important? Well, for Muslims, it means that Muhammad could not have spoken to anyone in the cave because they just simply didn't exist. It was all a major fabrication. Why do these things happen? Well, there's a thing called cults of personality. The North Koreans suffer from it at the moment. They've got their idiot leaders, the Kim dynasty. They tell their population all sorts of weird propaganda, but primarily they make the Kims out to be gods, people that can read your mind. And that's no different to what happened in the Book of Isaiah, which is another fake prophecy. What they did there is they placed Yahweh, the war god of the Canaanites, atop the globe, the dome version of the world, and had people thinking that this Yahweh could see every one of their moves. It's exactly the same move. It's just a cult of personality. And it's exactly what happened with Muhammad. They created a scam, and it was political in nature. Anyway, that'll probably do for now. Let you guys have a chat if you wish. Oh, there's good scholarship backing those things too. If I didn't present it too well. What are you doing, people?
Yeah, Rob, who are a few of the scholars that have tackled that question?
Yeah, so Yale University, Dr. I'm not sure whether he's a doctor or a professor. Dale Martin's his name. There's a video that you can get online, and he goes through the Book of Daniel, explaining what it means historically, and explains all the connections, and he does it extremely well. But he draws a conclusion of 164 BC as the authorship date. I think he's wrong, and the reason I say that is the Jubilees and the 77s. Plus, he didn't give. He doesn't give any coverage for. There's a 2,300 days reference in the Book of Daniel. If you do the math on that it's 6.3 years. That's actually the duration of the Maccabean revolt. It started late December of 167 BC, and it finished probably first or second month in from 160. So you do the math, that's 6 years and so many months. And there's another days reference in there, 1290 days. That equals to 3.5 years. That's the point of time where Antiochus, who was regarded by the Jews as their number one enemy, he's the little horn in the prophecy, alleged prophecy. So the author must have known right through to 160 BC. 160 BC. So, you know, yeah, but you know, it makes perfect sense. You know, the history's there, the record's there. You can see what the scam is, what they're doing. And the other thing was too, the Romans were in town. If you go and check this out, 161 BC, Rome made an alliance with the Jews. And you would expect that too, because you wouldn't expect a client population of Jewish folk being able to overcome the Seleucid Empire. That's just not realistic. But having Rome on board, then that makes a bit more sense. So Rome was probably driving the agenda to get rid of the threat, because the Seleucid dynasty were down in Egypt, and the Rome intervened there and sent them home, sent them packing. So Rome was very active.
The thing that stuck out to me when you were talking about this topic, Rob, was the affirmation that the prophecies were written post-mortem. And that's the most important thread throughout this whole thing, because if you talk to these theists, one of the things that they always cite is that their book predicted this and that and that and this with this and that prophecy. That's a really key point that you pointed out.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's factual. The evidence is there historically, and it makes sense. From a, I suppose you call it an atheist perspective, you can now say, well, look, here's a rational explanation of why the Romans were in town. They were out to get rid of the Greeks, and the threat that they saw that Greek dynasty had on them, or represented to them, and so they helped the Jews to achieve that. Now, you also notice in the Book of Daniel it does mention about ships of the Kittime, which are apparently supposed to mean Roman ships. So they had Roman ships in the vicinity as well, and that's part of the prophecy. So again, we're getting this matching of the historic record. We also know that the Hebrew Bible was closed at 200 BC, and there was no Book of Daniel in it. Wasn't mentioned. There's another book written about 180 BC, and it spoke about most of the previous religious texts, but no, once again, no Book of Daniel. And of course, with that Jubilees connection and the fact that it matches perfectly with all of the events leading up to 160, it's pretty clear to me exactly what's going on. The scholarship give us an authorship date of 164 BC, but I think they're wrong. But even at 164 BC on the scholarship, we're still on a winner because it's post-mortem. A post-mortem account of prophecy. It's done after the event. And that makes sense, so this is how they pull this off. They wrote it after the fact. When you have a look at the Book of Revelations, you find that it speaks about 3 woes. Well, there were 3 wars between the Jews and the Romans that terminated in 135 AD. There was also a big mountain, or Vesuvius, the eruption. That occurred within that time frame. There's a mention in the Jewish Talmud of an episode in a real war where people were massacred and they were brutalized, and it was such a bloodbath that the blood flowed up to the mouths of the horses. Well, that's the exact terminology that's used in the Book of Revelations for this 3rd woe. Matches perfectly. So again, we get this possibility that the Book of Revelations is written around post 136 AD, and we can explain that as post-mortem. If we go back to the book of Isaiah and look at that, we can see that that you've got an angry God pissed off with these Jewish people who just, their history was that they were slaves basically, and they'd been slaves since 740 AD. They've been slaves, so their only client. You know, what's this so-called God got to be angry about these people? They would have been living in terror, doing the bidding of their masters. So if any if any God's going to be angry, he's got to be angry at the masters, not the slaves. But no, he's making excuses for the masters, and what he does is he says that the Assyrians and the Babylonians are basically doing his bidding. They're running around killing Jews because that's what God wants, because the Jews are bad. Well, no, that's bullshit. What happened was, historically these events occurred, and the Cyrus the Great, who just happens to be God's best mate in the book of Isaiah, his boys wrote a story, post-mortem again, and made up a story that excused the Babylonians and the Assyrians for all the brutality, and told the Jewish folks that that God was angry and now behave yourself, be good citizens of Cyrus. If you look at the what was it? Oh, the Cyrus cylinder. And we have that record. It's in stone. It came from that era, and on that record we see that he did the same, a similar sort of thing, but no prophecy, with the Babylonian folk when he conquered them. He made himself best buddies, well, as propaganda, best buddies with Marduk, who was the god of the Babylonians. He chastised the outgoing popular leader, or not popular, outgoing leader, Nabonidus. He spoke about new projects. This is all on this tablet. And he spoke about a genealogy which validated his position. Well, if you go across to the Jewish Bible side and have a look at the book of Isaiah, the same things occur. Cyrus is once again made the hero of, or the hero of the story. He's best friends with God. There's a rebuilding program instituted. Jacob, who was a leader amongst the Jewish community, is defiled. And they write the Book of Kings. And there's your genealogy. So it's the same sort of pattern. And they falsify prophecy. All makes perfect sense. And it's from that point forward that Jerusalem, and to this day, that Judaism was owned by the Persian Empire. And that's why we see the Persian, the Babylonian Jews and their heavy role that they play. Yeah, but it's all pretty straightforward. But it's right about now that people will say it's conspiracy theory. But it's not. It makes perfect sense. It's a rational explanation for how people... Hey, Sydney Winston. It's a perfect... How are you? It's a perfectly rational explanation. There's historic evidence that backs it up. And the bottom line is, Angel Gabriel is a fraud. And Islam, because of that, Islam is a fraud. It's just the way it is.
But why is Islam more of a fraud, say, than Judaism?
They're not, but I prefer to deal with Islam first.
It just seems to be one and the same.
Oh yeah, they are.
Really, they are.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
Jewish terrorism has a face now, where it never really did before.
Mm.
And the face, I will present it to you. Is this guy. I'm just going to share this picture here. Can you see that?
What's going on there?
Can you see that?
Well, what I can
see. I see. I'm going to bring it in a different way. There we go.
I'm seeing is that guy got a knife?
He's got a knife. He's plunging it into the back of that woman.
Bloody hell.
No. Fuck. She died, by the way. Not surprisingly.
What was his argument? Or
well, he's a religious Orthodox Jewish cunt, and she happens to be a secular person, and this was it was in Jerusalem. It was either during or as part of the gay pride parade in Jerusalem.
Ah, right, okay.
And this guy arrives with a knife and starts stabbing people.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well have had an explosive belt and blew himself up. What the hell difference would it have been?
Yeah. But you know, we've had these sort of these events with religious overtones going on for years, and we've had really great orators speaking for the atheist cause. We're not making ground. We've got to pull our head. Got to really somehow start thinking more clearly about how to crack this horrible bloody disease. And it is. So I never blame people, right? I get frustrated by them.
It's mind poison.
Exactly. So therein lieth the true target, if you like. It's that thought in the head. How do you destroy that thought?
Well, Nazism was a thought.
Yes, but the thing is, they're wrong thoughts.
I know, but how do you destroy the thought was the question, and I'm saying Nazism was a thought. How do they destroy that, or can you destroy a thought?
Yeah, but now I'm thinking. I mean, if you've got to take it to a global stage,
yeah.
I think you're talking wars.
No.
I want to target individuals.
Rob, what is the difference with me saying, I got Nazi friends, I want you to tolerate them, and me saying I have Muslim friends, I want you to tolerate them? What's the difference? None. That's the answer.
Well, no, I'm just trying to think. I agree with you on the point that there's none, but I don't want to let the conversation drift too far off track.
Okay, I'm sorry.
See, the point is, I'm very convinced that the problem is a thought, and not just any thought, but a thought that has no basis in reality. That's the fundamental target. That's the thing that has to be destroyed. Now, what I know about that, a thought that's based on no reality, or at least what I've observed, is that it exhibits certain characteristics and behaviours when it recognises, and this is a questionable point, and I'll explain why in a minute, when it recognises a true threat. The behaviours that happen beyond that point, doesn't matter whether you're a Jew, a Nazi, or, you know, you believe in flower power or whatever, doesn't matter. The behaviours are pretty much the same. So here's the funny bit, which I really haven't pinned down yet, but I think that this thought based on no reality, belief thought, whatever, or no, not so much it, but the way humans are made, they're able to recognise in advance a threat to that belief thought. Why do I say that? I've just witnessed people, you know, their whole behaviour just changes like lightning. You know, they go from an angel to a devil sort of thing. And it seems to happen before the person seems aware of it. They're not even aware of the behaviours that start to follow. They get a bit antsy and whatnot. So I'm just wondering whether that's not the target point more specifically, you know, being able to nail that. But see, even when you do that, if you get people into a corner and then you know, what they do is they will try and fight for a little bit. If they're not knowledgeable about their topic matter, they're weak, their fight is pretty weak, and then there'll be a bit of an outburst, they'll get personal, where that's not their normal character, you know, so they'll try and make out that you're a devil or a demon, or they'll try any manner of personal attacks, and then they'll when all that fails, there's a moment where they try and save face, particularly if they're amongst people that they're regularly associated with, and then they want to exit, they want to get out of the room. And so you haven't achieved anything, basically. Well, maybe a seed is sown, I don't know. But anyway, these are the things I'm thinking about. I'm just trying to work out how to pop their little bubbles. Oh, sorry, I will say, and I feel confident, I don't have any, I'm not afraid of doing it, and I'm not concerned for the individual in doing it, bursting their bubble, because I really do know that they'll be in a better place eventually. Not in the short term, but eventually they'll be in a better place, and hopefully the world will be in a better place. You really do have to get rid of religions. Over to you guys. Rob, you are an anti-theist. Let's say anti-theist. Yeah. Well, here's something for you theists. I actually hold the view that Jesus was a real person. But I also hold the view that the Romans made up, while Paul started Christianity, but the Romans took it over, and they were the ones that created all the magic stuff and all the magic stories. Anti-theist. And what's an anti-theist? Atheist? Oh, you're saying I'm I'm not against people. All I'm against is, religious belief. That's right. Yeah, exactly. It's just the belief. It's just the thought. A thought in a person's head. I don't want to see anyone hurt at all, but I know I've done enough research now. I have a fairly good grasp of the bigger picture and how it works and why it works. And all the evidence is there, and I know religions are fakes. You may as well call them cults.
Well, if I may say something about Islam itself,
Yeah.
Possibly, quite possibly, the way to bring it down is from within.
Yeah. It's a difficult one, that one, because they've got a what do they call it, apostasy. So it's written into their doctrine that if you leave, you die.
I know, but okay, let's move across to Britain, to England. Have you ever heard of a gentleman called Angel Gabriel?
Oh, Chowdhury.
Yes.
He's an arsehole.
Right.
First class arsehole.
Okay. Now I found a video. It's 30 seconds long, where within the Muslim community itself, when they're all wearing the same clothes, they're kicking him out. They're saying, "Go fuck off with your ideas." I have this video lined up right now. If you want to listen to it or watch it.
No, I'll take your word for it. So the Muslim.
Let me. I don't want to do any. Break any copyright rules. So here's the link to it, and you guys can all watch it. It's only 27 seconds long.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll watch it now.
Yeah, watch it down and see if you can present it somehow, but without breaking any rules, of course.
I don't know about that.
But many Muslims are disturbed by Chowdhury's teachings and aren't afraid to tell him.
Do you know anything about me? Do you know anything about me? We don't know. Do you know anything about me? We don't want to. I know you. Excuse me, uncle. You're my uncle. Get out of here.
See, there's a bright light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Not really. Oh yes,
No,
yes.
well.
I understand the people, but he's an.
Continues. We all try to make sense
sorry.
of what it means to be Islamic, to be Muslim. We often hear that it's a.
Yeah, not really, because he's extreme and he's political, right? That's his agenda.
Well,
For
they have to
some-
be. Islam is political.
Yeah, there's, as far as I understand it, there's sort of like two levels, right? So you've got the guys in the back room, political power players, using this to their own end, and then you've got the guys in the front room who believe that it's all honky dory and it's God exists and it's all for the betterment of humanity and that sort of group. So out of those two groups, I'd say that the guys that were rejecting him, I would think would be genuine people in their beliefs.
Yeah.
Chowdhury's not. He's a shocking piece of work, that guy.
Well, he's a real Muslim. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think he's
I admire him for that.
a strong weighting of political.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not being political because out of he's what he's kind of come to believe in. It's what the book says. The book says this, and this is what I want to see happen. There's no reason. There's no rational thinking beyond it. It's just the book says it, so that's what the book says. There should be a black flag hanging over the White House. Therefore, I want to see a black flag hanging over the White House. That's basically it.
Yeah. Do you think, Sydney, that you'd be a good judge of? I mean, it's not a perfect science, but of a person that's just a genuine believer and someone that's running an agenda? Could you tell the difference?
There's no difference.
Well, no, there is.
No.
Because one's being very, very genuine and consistent in what they say, and they're probably even hooked into a bit of the good stuff. And then you've got a guy that's really, the wheels are turning all the time, and his story might switch. I don't know, to me, I see Chowdhury and I just, yeah, you are a calculated manipulator. But I wouldn't say that of those.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But
say that.
every one of those Islamic State citizens, or whatever you want to call them, is exactly the same as this guy.
Yeah.
Dangerous as fuck.
Yeah. But it still leaves us with the same problem, though. Still this belief held in mind that's causing the trouble. And we, I would assume, we know for sure that there isn't a God, and that there isn't angels, and there aren't devils. We know that with a high deal of confidence. And it's based on evidence. There's just no evidence. None, zero. So it's a false, it's not a thought that's founded on reality. You know the bulimia sufferers?
Mm-hmm.
Very stubborn, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. No more so than depression sufferers, or...
Too true. I agree. But these are people that hold wrong ideas, that don't have a foundation in reality. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. But they see reality in a non-real way.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a thought inside the head. I mean, I'll put it to you this way, right? Here's how I gauge. If someone asks me, how do you tell reality? Right? What I say to them is, well, I've got 5 senses. And my 5 senses are the measure of something that's real. You might say, well, what about something that happened 100 years ago? Well, then I'd say, well, I'd be looking for a bunch of historians that reported the same sort of thing, and I'd be trusting that their senses would report a story that would make sense to me today. So I'm relying on their senses to report accurately, and there should be a consensus among people that sort of look at the same work and say, oh yeah, that all makes sense. So I think the definitive measure of reality is this. It's that moment of that you actually sense something. You experience something, yes. Well, it's actually in the now too, because as soon as we drift forward in time, we have no way of ever having those past experiences. They're lost. They're just a memory. They've become a thought. So our brain, but the actual experience is gone. So well, yeah, you might say that. So that's Benaberry. He said, our experience isn't reality, but a representation of it. Well, real experience is...
That is not true, though.
What's that?
Our representation of reality that we see doesn't in any way alter the fact that it is what it is, that we are where we are, and objectively It's one reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Universally, it's a one reality.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were in the same room, we should be able to observe something, touch it, smell it, taste it, and concur on it being something real.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's impossible to do that with a thought. A thought's not a reality. That sounds funny, I guess, but it's a construction in our mind to represent something, and it can, I think, create feelings, perhaps. I suppose that's realistic enough, but it's not a reality. It just simply isn't. It's a thought.
Exactly.
And this God concept and this Angel Gabriel and all these other things, they aren't part of our reality. They can never be tested and can never be known. And this was the scam these guys worked out. And they've been doing it for years, these cults of personality. It was a story about something that could never be challenged. And all they had to do, and here we come to our problem again. They just had to convince people through propaganda or whatever to believe in the thought. And bingo, they've got you. So
it's no different to all, to all the other religions.
No, I agree. All the same.
Different
all
flavor.
thoughts. Well, they all run the same pattern. I mean, and if we go back to Zeus and Jupiter, I mean, the Greeks and the Romans, I don't know about the Greeks, but the Romans certainly were doing it. And again, it's cults of personality, propaganda machines.
Well, the Greeks had the oracles, don't forget.
Yeah, did they run a scam, though, on the people?
The oracles of Delphi or Oracle of Delphi, whatever.
I've not read it. Hello.
Oh no, it's still there today. It's a sort of almost like a little spring place that they found that I don't know if it's a cave or something, but there's this a gas or something that gets seeped out of the earth, and what they used to do is
the bigger question.
1 second, guys. 1 second. Yeah, sorry, love. Oh, just chatting with some people.
All right. Go ahead, Don.
Well, the bigger question is, how come Homer's Odyssey is viewed as mythology, but the Bible's not?
Yeah.
Well, I view them both as mythology. So that, what do you mean?
I'm not talking about us personally. I'm talking about the overwhelming number of people who have asserted, falsely asserted, by the way, that Homer's Odyssey was nothing more than fantasy, but the Bible is true. Like Rob said earlier, you have these fabrications of prophecy, and I hear again and again from theists that this prophecy validates that their works are real and that stuff like the Odyssey is not. And they cling on to concepts like this, and they try to use it to rationalize that their book is legitimate, that their book is real. But again, Homer's Odyssey.
Which one is more believable though?
Well, neither one of them are more believable. None of it's believable because none of it can.
Which one is more like fantastic, or which one is more absurd? The Jesus book is more absurd. That's the answer.
Well,
or the Abrahamic books are more absurd.
The difference between a myth and a religion is the number of people who believe it. That's a very good point. So, if we would have gone back to 200 AD, though, we'd have a lot of people that believed in Homer's Odyssey. So it's a change with the times. Stuff that becomes in vogue gets adopted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's just I think it's enough to recognise that this sort of we'll call it human behaviour, if you like, has been going on for quite a while. Probably goes back to the days of witch doctors and tribal kings.
Have you ever had a look at how and why Islam actually sprung up and started? Maybe there's your clue.
No, it's a good question, and the answer is no, because my focus was on, when I wrote the book, it was all about the Jesus story. I started that story because I wanted to understand why all the folk in Rwanda got massacred, and along the way I stumbled across the Gospel of Thomas, which I now say is probably what the Muslims call the Injil. And from there, it was just like chasing a ball of string. And now Islam, what do I know about Islam? I did actually come across one guy online, and what he said to me was, he said to me that, and it made a lot of sense to me too, based on what I knew from, because I've got a good all-round perspective for the Christian story and the Jewish story. He said to me there was a guy, his name was IBN Salam. But anyway, that's not correct, but I'll see if I can dig it up in a minute. He was a Jewish guy, and this particular Jew said that this particular guy was the person that started Islam. And as soon as I heard that, just one bit of background. I knew that there was fighting between the Jews and the Romans all the way up to the beginning of Islam, and it just stops. And then Islam seems to take up the fight against the Romans. But when he said that, I thought, oh, gee, I wonder if it's not the Persian Empire again at work, and that they're the ones that are responsible for the birth of Islam. Because it was the Persian Empire, and I'm very, very, very confident on this one, it's the Persian Empire that owned Judaism. So it was just interesting to me that the Jewish folks were in on the ground, in the early days in the development of Islam. So I thought, oh, because I hold the view that all these religions exist because of the empire, no other reason. Empires start them up. That's my answer.
Now, how are we going to bring him down?
Well, big thing, that's for sure. I don't.
Don't even bring them down. Just sort of push them to the side and down, where they belong.
Well, the answer is, I think, you quite often hear in all forms of philosophy and religion and spirituality and all that, it says the truth will set you free. I know personally, for the Enlightenment sort of journey, that it has to be about truth. You have to accept the truth of reality, and it's in the acceptance of that truth that the old ego mind sort of is destroyed. So you've got two problems there. Firstly, you've got what is the truth? And secondly, there you come back to that bubble bursting moment of bubble bursting moment where you accept the truth over the belief. And I'm pretty sure that that's spot on. I'm pretty sure that that's the way it works. I mean, I got that one from Jesus, actually. He had a saying. Now, you won't find this in any Bible, but I think it's spot on. I mean, my life experience echoes it, and it explains to me why people go a bit loopy when they're threatened by when the ego mind's threatened. So he said, Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. So he's saying find, right? So he's not talking about belief at all here. You just got you're being encouraged to keep trying to nut things out and work it out. When they find, they will be disturbed. Well, that occurs. I know exactly what that is. When you actually confront the truth in your own life, you know, where you've stuffed up or whatever, in your life, you tend to defend yourself. You justify your bad action, but in truth, you shouldn't. You've got to accept it for what it is, own the problem. So there's this conflict, there's this disturbance. And this is exactly what happens when you get a Christian in the room and you give them something that they recognise as a threat. They become very disturbed. And a lovely little person turns into a right little demon. Guaranteed. They are. When they are disturbed, they will marvel. Well, what that's all about is that when you're liberated and you see the world for what it is and you accept your own, you know, the fact that you've got the good and evil thing going on in you as much as anyone else, you understand people better. You understand what's motivating them and you understand why they're behaving badly. So, you know, and that's pretty neat to reach that point, and then you reign over all. Well, what that means is that you'll be able to cope better and understand folk how they function. And after you've reigned, you'll rest because the journey's done. You know, there's no more enlightenment path to be trod. You just live life, and you accept things for what they are, and except Islam. You can't have lies, right? See, lies are no good. So, see, I regard the religions as like ego minds, like they're the lie. They're the thing that needs disturbing to get to a healthier position. Yeah. Hey. Hey, Gahan, CC, where are you? Are you really a Muslim? Damn.
Hey, Rob, I think you might be Judaic now.
Well, anyone with a belief in the room, please stand up. You know, over the course of time, you know, if we can just get a believer in the room, I'll demonstrate. But I still, yeah, so the answer to your question, Sydney, is the truth.
Do you have a point with this, or is it just going to go on and on?
Oh, you can go. I'll kick you out if you like. Or do you want to speak?
I just want to know what exactly you were getting at.
Oh, we started the hangout, and I did a piece on why Angel Gabriel is a fake, and I gave my rationale for that. And then Sydney just asked me a question, and I gave an answer. He spells it Sydney, S-I-D-N-E-Y. Nick? Sydney.
Hmm?
No reaction to the response?
What response?
You asked me about something that led to the truth being the solution. I think, didn't you?
Well, there was my comment on that video with those old guys trying to kick that Angel dude out of their community or whatever. You know, they weren't happy with him, and they were Muslims too, and they were part of the elderly community of Muslims.
Yeah, but wouldn't you judge them just on the look of them as being sort of sincere believers? A different cut from a different cloth.
Those particular guys are obviously, to me, you know, from my first impression was that they're grateful for the situation that they're in. They're in England. They're free to practice their religion. They're not going to go in and screw up the culture of the country that they live in. You know, they're your regular grateful immigrant, like you should be.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of like a bit of a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yeah, no, it's not that they integrate, you know, and they go to the pub and have a pint with the boys every night. They didn't do that, but at least they don't publicize and push the agenda of Muslim extremism.
Do you think that they might be more susceptible to new information?
No, I think those are the kind of guys whose children and grandchildren will be secular, for the most part.
Sorry, will be secular.
Secular will be integrated. If not their children, then definitely their grandchildren.
Too late by then, mate.
Well, this is another topic. But it's too late already. So too late's already passed. Yeah, absolutely. It's not over yet.
Yeah, true. I get your point there. But then again,
you got to wonder, Rob. There's a big war in Muslimistan, right? There's Muslims killing other Muslims. So what they do is they flee. Do they flee to Muslim countries that aren't killing each other? No. They don't flee to Indonesia. They don't flee to Saudi Arabia or any of the Gulfs, the Gulf states or Pakistan or Iran. They don't flee anywhere there. They go to Europe. You know, very Muslim in Europe. Why do they go to Europe?
They should all be executed. Execute them all, especially them Lebanese.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
You can execute them as long as you say Allahu Akbar like over and over and over like a chant while you're doing it.
I don't care as long as they're
Then
Lebanese.
it's legitimate.
They're Christian, Muslim, or otherwise. Just check ID Lebanese, dead, bang, against the wall. All of them, even the babies. I've seen some
Well,
pretty
no, save
menacing
the babies
videos.
because they save the babies because they could be.
I
Well, no, save the babies because they
saw-
could be.
I seen a Lebanese baby, I'm not joking, in Lakemba on the corner dealing friggin' ice. What kind of people are these coming here? A baby
Dealing what?
in nappies, dealing crystal meth.
A baby in nappies. Well, I mean, must have gone to some kind of a
It doesn't
early
matter, they're Lebanese, that's what they teach
education
their
system.
babies. It's DNA, it's like, it's genetic. They
No,
come out with an ounce and they're already dealing to our kids. Next thing you know, our kids are 16 and joining ISIS.
What are we going to do about that?
Yeah, that's why I think the answer lies in the root of the problem. It's that thought in the head. If you can somehow conquer that.
Yeah, but you got to also understand that you've got Saudi Arabia exporting this extremist thinking. You've got Iran on the Shia side exporting their brand of thinking. They're at each other's throats, the Shia and the Shiites, and the Shiites and everybody else. I mean, it's just such a fucking mess. It's too late. It's too late. Unless you're going to go there and deal a huge immediate economic blow to these people, there's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do.
Yeah, you might be right. But I mean,
for example, let's say hypothetically,
try.
Now, hypothetically, we're going to wake up in the morning, and it just so happens that somebody has figured out a way to harness energy out of the sea. I was reading about this the other day. Underground sort of generators that sort of just they're always working with the currents.
Yeah.
Free energy, right? So let's say all of a sudden they build this underground, this underwater network of generators that gives them free energy, and they don't need to buy I don't know, $1 trillion of oil from the Gulf, from the Arabs every year. They only have to buy $1 billion of oil from the Arabs every year, let's say. So an economic blow that big and that fast would go a long way towards starting to fix the problem.
Yeah, but the guys that are running those oil fields and the filthy rich, right, are using these religions to serve them. The whole reason these religions exist, it's like the old pyramid, right? There's a guy or two at the top, and they're filthy rich, and they're greedy as anything, and this is human nature. They have the cash at the moment to do whatever they choose, buy armies, have wars, all this sort of shit. Do you think that they would sit idly by and just let that happen? The reason I think that we've got such a upswell at the minute, right, why there's such a push online to grow Islam, why we've got the hordes streaming into Europe, is because the days of Islam, because of the internet, right, because of the access to information, the pressure this puts on a thing like a bubble idea, their days are numbered, so they've got to start making a move. And I honestly hold a view that these pricks that are sitting behind Islam have an agenda that's, about world domination. Because if you think about it, that's the only way that religion's going to be able to survive. It cannot survive in the type of world we live in today because there's just too much going on, too much information that's readily available, and people will eventually wake up, eventually.
Well, I think the focal point is probably starting to shift towards Iran now that they've got their little nuclear deal, and And we all know, at least I know for sure, that they're lying about keeping to it. So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of when it all starts to unravel, and that's obviously going to be soon.
Oh,
So
the
there's a
pressure's
lot.
on them. The pressure's on them because it is indeed. Because the bullshit can't sustain itself forever. It's getting more and more hammered. That's more radical, I think, because these empires are under massive threat. And of course, with that, you get hammered for being a conspiracy theorist. But I don't know. All the evidence points, and religions ain't real, and God's not friggin' real, and cults of personality are real.
Hang on, I just got to go for a drive. Hang on. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. No problem. Sydney, it still all comes back to that. So, you see, if you take the view that of groups like Muslims, Christians, black people, white people, gay people, if you look at it as groups, you're always going to end up in a bloody war.
No, that's not true. You cannot group black people, white people, and Muslims in the same group. It's not.
Yeah, haven't you been to Lebanon, mate? They're all there. All of them. They bloody well come here.
Well, who lets them in? It's not me. I don't sit at your borders and vet everybody who comes in. Who does that?
They're stupid government.
Who votes for them? Oh, the people, right? Yeah, okay, got it.
The problem still comes down to people holding wrong ideas that have no basis in reality.
No, that's not the problem. The problem is when they use those ideas to stab young ladies in the back with knives, like this bastard's doing. Hey, I'm watching my avatar, and I'm just sitting here seething, just watching them.
You're seething.
Seething, yeah. I'm, and you know what's really pissing me off? Not that act alone. That act alone doesn't surprise me. What I'm seething about is the cowardly community of Orthodox Jews who have shut the fuck up. They've clammed up like I don't know, whatever clams up. But they've clammed up. They've shut up. They haven't said a word. This to me, this one act taints Judaism. It totally invalidates Judaism. Right there. If that's the word that he's following, and if he's the Orthodox Jew that everybody should aspire to be, then oy vey.
Yeah. Hey, you see the research or the archaeological research on Moses? There's nothing. There's no evidence.
Of course, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Moses is a story, fiction.
Yeah, that tells you that it's not valid. And then, if I'm right on the Book of Isaiah, and I'm damn sure I am, Judaism isn't a Jewish religion. It was lost to the Persian Empire.
Yeah, I mean the Babylonian exile, wasn't that under the Persian?
Yeah,
that's right. Exactly.
Sorry,
and that's where a lot, apparently, a lot of the New Testament was written during that exile.
Have a look at them now.
Not the New Testament, the Old Testament.
Yes, that's true. It's the door to our country.
Right.
I'm just saying, look at the Persians now. They're all floating on bits of wood to our country.
Well, rather they go to Australia than to Canada.
Yeah, but again, if you took the idiotology out of the mix, then we're just people again.
No, it's more than that. They're dark.
No.
They're dirty.
No, it's not only religion, it's also tribalism. When you say country like Iraq, you think, oh, they're all Iraqis, but It's more than that. You got many tribes and ethnic groups and stuff like that. It's not just religion.
No, they all look the bloody same to me. I can't tell the bloody difference. I don't know about yous.
What are they all called? They all have the same name? What's their name?
Oh, bloody Iraqis or whatever they are.
Muhammad.
Muhammad. They're all called Muhammad too. You got a point. They are all called Muhammad.
They
What the fuck's
are.
up with that?
Oh, I guess they might think that it gets them a free ticket into heaven. Oh dear. Yeah, see that's another thing I raised. So I'm always looking for little bits and pieces to shake the nest a little. Based on
we should. Yeah, I think it's about time that we actually united to shake that nest in a big way.
Yeah, but if you do it, you can do it with. See, it's like getting a person that's got bulimia and actually saving them. That's what's going on, and I mean it. That's seriously what's going on. They've got a disease, if you like, or a mental illness. That's probably
delusional disorder.
No, I think mental illness is probably a fair thing because it's inflammatory thing. But in the same breath, you say, look, if you listen to me and you do your homework, you'll be able to get rid of the disease. It's just a thought. Thought gone, problem solved. But I've got what I was going to say now. I was going to talk about how I wind. Oh yeah, it's the death phenomenon. Because I was thinking that, all right, people. I think fundamentally there is a very selfish part of us people, and one of the reasons I think, and I haven't thought widely on this, so if anyone else has got any thoughts, I'd welcome them. But one of the big deals I think for people joining up the religious story is that they get to live forever. I know with the Jesus sayings, that's one thing that caught me with it and why I was interested in it. It said, number one, and he said, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. And I saw that and I thought, oh, that makes sense because most people are shit scared of death, and it's probably why religions exist or get people on board, is because they promise you everlasting life and resurrection and all of this. So I'm looking at that, and then I thought, well, that was my big test of, is this Jesus person real? So I went and read all the sayings, and they seem to make some form of sense. But
if this Jesus person is real, then you have to support the whole resurrection story and all the miracles and all the.
No.
You
No,
can't pick and choose.
No, I'll explain. Right. So there's I don't know whether you've ever heard of this, Q-source theory. Ever heard of Q-source theory?
Yeah.
Right. Well, Q-source theory, the way it goes basically is that there was a register of Jesus sayings, a list of them, and whoever was putting together the Bible, the New Testament, had that list, and they worked off that list. Well, I found from this other sayings list, I found that 61 of those sayings actually appear in the Bible. So there's some evidence that suggests that Q-source theory is an accurate thing. But Q-source theory also suggests that the New Testament were done in concert, like it was a group project. Well, I hold the view that a guy called Nerva, who was later to become a Roman emperor, when he worked for the Flavian dynasty, was the lead architect in the propaganda campaign that Rome ran on the back of the first war between, so-called war, it was probably bloody just an outright massacre, the first massacre of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The timing's perfect. The guy's in situ at that time, and also we see that he actually is missing from the court for a period of time. What we also see is that he was given the second of two prestigious awards that are usually given to military guys, triumphs I think they were called. So they were at that level, so it was a significant reward he got. And he also got one off Nero, which just happened to be around the time pre the war, when they did the Pisanian conspiracy. So this guy Nerva, I think, is the author or the lead architect of the Book of Matthew, Book of Mark, Book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke, sorry, and the Book of Acts, and the works of Josephus. Because if you ever read the works of Josephus, the one thing that jumps out at you is, my God, this guy is a superhero.
Well, don't you think that Paul would have had a copy of Jesus' sayings running around Galatia and wherever and setting up churches? And you'd think you would have mentioned a couple of them, or maybe one of them even, but he doesn't.
Well, you'd think so, but also the thing that you notice about the 7 letters from Paul is that there's also no miracles. No Jesus walking on water or...
No, because Paul didn't think of Jesus as being an earthly figure. He just thought of Jesus as being, outer space, because he never met Jesus. He just met apparently this guy called James. Said he was the brother of Jesus.
Yeah, James. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, if Paul can get duped in the year 0 or the year 30 or whatever the hell it was, then it stands to reason that in the 1830s, the Americans could get duped by Joseph Smith the exact same way.
Shit, yeah, it happens. That's a problem.
It's kind of an identical situation.
Yeah, but I think the reason that there was no miracles recorded, you see,
there were no miracles.
Well, that's true. But
another thing, if I may add about miracles, Jesus didn't have the copyright on performing miracles. Lots of disciples were performing miracles, and Jesus or God would give person X the ability to perform miracles on their behalf. It didn't have to be Jesus or anybody in particular to do these miracles. It could have just been somebody that God just happened to choose. So he loses his whole importance right away.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that I'm very confident that the Romans were the miracle storytellers.
I'm very confident that Jesus didn't exist.
No, I'm pretty sure he did. And the reason I say it, sure he did.
Okay.
I went through all of the sayings, right, that are in this other text that was hidden, the so-called Gospel of Thomas. I went through all the sayings, and I can tell you that I can give you a rational, philosophical explanation for every single one of them. And I can also tell you that you will not see any of those sayings used anywhere prior to the 1st century AD. They just simply do not exist. The other thing is scholars are in two camps. They go for the early camp and the late camp. I think the early camp are right, which is 40 AD. That makes those texts available at the right time. And 61 of those texts do appear in these New Testament Gospels. And I think in so doing, they validate Q-source theory.
So how did they sort of survive for a generation or two before somebody got a hold of them and tried to write gospels about them? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Why?
Well, no.
Why? You say there's this guy who's got this list of names, a list of sayings. Okay, let's say I got this list of sayings, and I wrote a book about the list of sayings. I wrote it in a book. Now, why would somebody take that list of sayings and change the book? Like that's what I think it's Luke.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Luke comes up with the first gospel, right? These are the sayings of Jesus, and then another guy comes up and says, well, let's let's embellish it a little bit and write some more about the sayings of Jesus, and then another guy, and then you got four different stories of different stories, but with the same plot.
Yeah,
and they're all different.
I can explain. So you remember I said 61 of the sayings are used in the New Testament Gospels, thus validating Q-source theory. What's interesting is the 53 that don't make the cut. When you have a big picture perspective, and as I do, and an understanding of how religions come to be, and that they're basically brought into being by empires. Empires want to own them, and that's the motivation to bring them into being. They're a form of control. What you find is the ones that were dismissed or don't even appear in the Gospel tell a very interesting tale, because you've got Jesus talking about no gods in the sky. You've got all about a personal relationship. You know, it's probably the Buddhist line of thinking, right? That's what you get left with, and they are all discarded. And the ones that got through, they are embellished with, and you can see clearly there's one that sticks in my mind. It's saying number 8, where he talks about and this is just about wisdom. So, and he said, the person is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea full of little fish. Among them, the wise fisherman. So we're talking about someone that's, you know, wise now, enlightened, discovered a fine large fish in amongst the catch. He threw all the little fish back into the sea and easily chose large fish. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. So what he's saying there is that in life we can get caught up with a lot of trivialities, and you'll know this. I mean, this is just the way things work. You'll see people when they lose a loved one, their whole focus changes. They refocus or re-energize or whatever, and what becomes precious to them is love, and you know, very simple things. The simple basics become important, and all of the trivialities, you know, the car, the watch, the computer, and all of that pale into significance. So that's what he's talking about. That's the message behind that saying. When you flick across to the Bible, you get that saying, that same saying, but it's changed around, and it's really talking about big and small fish as if they're 2 separate entities, and it wants you to it brings in the gnashing and the weeping and all of that stuff that, you know, if you don't be a good person, you're not going to get to heaven. So you can see clearly the hand of the cult at work. That's my opinion. Excuse me. So I think the guy was a real dude and a very good philosopher, very accurate. But he wasn't a miracle man. He's dead. He ain't coming back. And the Romans took the story. Well, firstly, the Jews took it because they wanted to recover their lost, the people that had sort of started following Jesus. So they wanted to recruit, and that's what Paul said.
So you're saying, Rob,
yeah,
that Jesus kind of like this Kim Jong-un guy, walking around and people with a little notebook taking notes of what he said.
Well, the one that recorded those 114 sayings was Thomas. So
okay, now what are these sayings? What is one of them? Can you give an example?
Yeah, I can.
Sure.
I'll give you one that will probably throw you, and then I'll explain what it means. See if you agree with me.
Well, let's see if I can figure it out myself first.
Okay, well, I'll bet you don't.
Right.
Took me a bloody ages, but you might. So this is saying number 7. Jesus said, "Lucky is the lion that the human will eat, so that the lion becomes human, and foul is the human that the lion will eat, and the lion still will become human." Now it has a very definite meaning.
Well, it's a very Judaic meaning. Okay,
No,
that stems from Judaism. No, that's a very in Judaism there's a connection between the animal that you eat and yourself. You know, the animal has sacrificed his life for you, and you are grateful to that animal, and you respect that animal for having done that for you. I mean, that's kind of Judaism in that respect.
Yeah, but that's not the meaning here, so keep trying.
Well, that seems to be the first part of it, anyway.
All right, I'll explain. So what we have to do is we have to substitute lion for ego. Then it all becomes quite clear what's going on. Jesus said, "Lucky is the ego that the human will eat, consume." So that's where you actually master. You know, you consume your ego. You take control of it, so that the lion becomes human. So the ego becomes human.
Oh, okay. So are these authentic sayings of Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Okay. And so where did you find them in the Book of Thomas?
The Scholar's translation of the Gospel of Thomas.
Okay. Now, where in the New Testament is the Gospel of Thomas?
It's not, because it was hidden. Firstly, I think the guys that had it were a guy called Valentinius.
Hold on a second. It doesn't. So these are the agreed upon by everybody in the world authentic sayings of Jesus, right?
No, you won't get that at all.
Well, then where do you? If it's not a universal, if it's not a universal sort of a truth, let's say, or it's not universal evidence, then how are you swayed when there is no evidence?
Because it fits in perfectly with everything else, with the Q-source theory. And the other thing is, remember, I've read and interpreted every one of them. I can tell which ones, which of the two sets. So now we compare the New Testament versions of these sayings. I can tell which one of them is a genuine, authentic, let's call it a philosophy for want of better words. And I can also tell which one is corrupted, and I can probably tell you specifically why.
Okay, but why are you so gifted, and the rest, and say the Pope and those that are high up in Christianity are not as gifted as you?
Um,
Because if it's the authentic saying of Jesus, then it's got to have some reverence. You'd have to give it.
no,
You'd have to actually.
remember
This is
that.
hold on. This is the original sayings of Jesus that farce. You can throw away the New Testament now and just use those sayings of Jesus to be the basis and the foundation for your religion. Sure, right?
I think it'd be a good idea. I wouldn't call it a religion, though.
Okay, so what
There's only
what is it
140.
that's
You only need 114, and I guarantee you, the puzzles of life are solved. That's all you need. But back to your question. Why the Pope? You see, I hold the view. Remember, I'm saying that the Roman Empire owns Christianity, and it's in their vested interest. And I'm saying that they use these texts as part of the story that they built, and they made the Jesus myth up, right, with all their, and that's the cult of personality. Jesus the Christ, who may well never have been called Christ, but this Jesus the Christ is the cult of personality that became Christianity, and that's governed by empires. And the Pope is, I don't know, I wouldn't have a clue. I don't have any evidence, but the Pope he's running the show, but he's running the wrong show. He's running a crooked boat.
okay? Well, what about Christian hillbilly? I mean, you think of anybody who's a serious Christian who rejects the sayings of Jesus Christ as found in the Book of Thomas. Why would they do that?
It takes a while to work them out. So I guess they just, well, the church itself pushes very heavily. Well, hang on, here's something, right? I don't know the answer to this, but it's called the Gospel of Thomas. I wonder, I have a question in my mind, was it actually written on it called the Gospel of Thomas? Because I don't think so. I think it's actually a Gospel of Jesus sayings, because Thomas has nothing to do with it.
But if it is a Gospel of Jesus sayings, then you are certainly not the only person in the whole world to think that way.
I don't know. Wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, but okay, let's say all the religious scholars in the world got hold of this source that you have, and did a whole bunch of studying and whatever it takes to say to give some provenance to the thing. And let's say they said, this happens to be the real words of Jesus. And I don't see why that wouldn't have happened already if that really was the words of Jesus. But if I was a religious dude and I found sayings of my God that weren't included in my Bible, would I include them in my Bible, or would I just throw away my Bible and then just concentrate on the words of my God? Well, what's happening is the Christians, at least, are sticking to their ridiculous Bible and tossing the Gospel of Thomas, obviously, because no one's spoken about it in 4 years of Hangouts.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's definitely something that they're afraid of, because it does threaten their position. But I don't know. I'd be interested to sit with a Christian, but you see that, as soon as you mention Thomas, that's why I'm coy about using the term Thomas. They immediately say, that's fictional. They've been told. So it's been, the message is well and truly across the Christian community that this is a fake teaching, or it's whatever. I'd be happy to have that debate with anyone.
It is obviously fake.
No, it's not. 100% no.
Well, then it should be introduced as evidence number one for the existence of Jesus.
What are you talking about? The Jews or the Muslims again?
No, he's saying that Jesus exists because there's an authenticated book with his sayings in it.
All right.
Which is fine if that's true and it exists, and every single Christian should be embracing it.
Well, that'd be a good thing.
But Rob seems to be the only one who knows about it.
Well, what can I say? Prove me wrong. Don't say I'm wrong.
Don't give me the Jesus penis banana contest here, because that was I came up with this after vigorously and rigorously studying and reading this Bible. I could not find anywhere where it says that Jesus Christ's penis is not a banana.
That's funny.
But it's true. Nowhere. So therefore, I have to conclude that Jesus Christ's penis is a banana. But which is not too far fetched. I mean, let's face it. He doesn't have a physical father. You know, a transcendental daddy. I mean,
he's not God. For crying out loud.
Well, yeah. And
do you believe in God, Rob?
Yeah. I mean, if he did emerge from the vagina as a human being, he still only has half human chromosomes. So his penis could be a banana. Why not?
Rob.
Hey, sorry?
Rob, can you get out, please?
Say it again, mate. I can't hear you.
What?
Can you see the screen? Can you see Vladimir?
What did he say?
Can you see his webcam? Man.
I'm sorry, I'm just not getting it. Can you type it in the chat?
Can you see his camera?
Camera?
Yeah, of Vladimir.
I'm still not with you.
I don't know.
On the Hangout, can you see Vladimir on the Hangout?
The mirror on the Hangout.
Vladimir.
Oh, Vladimir. Okay.
Yeah, Vladimir.
Yeah, hang on, wait a minute. Where is he? Yeah, there's Vladimir. I got him.
Cool. How you doing?
G'day, Vladimir.
Cool. Do you believe in God?
Hey, you asshole, what are you doing there?
Doing where? Doing where?
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just going for a drive. What are you doing?
Oh, jeez. If I die, it's this prick that did it. What are you doing? I'm curious why you did that.
Oh, this is my street. I'm just driving up the shop.
No, I know where you are. Precisely.
Oh.
Are you guys in the same neighborhood or something?
Yeah, what's happening? He just drove past my house.
Oh.
Which is rather spooky. Because he lives over in, where do you live? Coburg or somewhere?
No, actually, yeah, no, I live here. This is my street.
Well, you didn't say that last time.
No, I live here. This is like, I'm sure where I live.
Yeah, so what he's done, for whatever reason, he's decided to find out where I live. That's...
Who?
You have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
How?
Because you just drove past.
What are you talking about?
You had your car slowed down outside my house.
Oh, did I? Have no idea. Traffic here, though. Oh, I got this bus.
How do you know he's driving outside your house? So what? I don't get it.
Oh, because I recognised it. I know exactly where he's at. He's going past the church just up near a place called Sunshine.
It's Scumshine. Soon we'll be getting my smack deal on.
You sure you're not a Muslim?
It's Scumshine.
What city is this? Is this a city in Europe?
No, it's in Melbourne.
Melbourne, Florida?
Yep.
Now what he's doing is going back.
What?
I know this place too.
Do you know it?
Yeah.
Where am I going?
Know it all.
Do you know it all? Okay.
So
What
I
is
still
that
got a question for you. I still got a question for you. Why are you doing that?
Doing what?
Rob, just
actually-
get out and say hello to your friend, Rob. What's the problem?
I live
Come on,
next
say
door.
hello to the camera.
What? Say hello to the
Dear, dear, dear.
What?
Now he's
Do
going
what?
back.
No, I was just seeing my mate was home. I always do this. I just drive around. This is my
Dude,
job.
you're driving on the wrong side of the road. You're gonna get in
I
an
know.
accident.
It's a national, Anyway.
Is it National Drive on the left-hand side of the road day or something?
Do you go to that church, Rob?
No, I don't go to church.
No, I mean, have you been in there at all? Like, checked it out or anything?
What kind of a church is it? Eastern Orthodox or Roman Catholic or anything else?
It's a brick one,
Mormon? It's a brick church.
which means they got a little bit more money than the ones made out of fibro.
Their message must be far more meaningful.
It's the love boat.
Or maybe their sermon speaker, their preacher is a little bit more oratorical.
Next, I'm going to drive to Beena Berry's house. What do you reckon? Beena, I'm coming now. I'm going to your work. Get ready.
Gas must be really cheap in Australia if you can just drive around all day visiting all the Hangouts peeps.
Yeah. This is cool. The love boat. Rob,
Yeah, Vladimir.
what are you doing?
Well, I'm wondering what to do about you, whether to report you to the police or not.
What for?
I'm going to do it, mate. Sorry.
That's all right. What for?
Well, I want them to actually pick you up and just get you to answer honestly what you were doing hovering around my house. I think it's a bit bad, mate.
What? I don't even know where you live. How is that possible?
Oh, I don't know, but you sort it out with the coppers.
Well, how the coppers gonna figure it out? Because
I don't know. I just
I
tried.
mean, it's just the inside of a car.
No, it's not. I saw my place. He was hovered out. He slowed down in front of it. Hang on, just get their number.
Get right. You can't make this stuff up, right?
No, I know. Unbelievable. But I want to find out exactly why he did that.
Did what?
Well, maybe. Well, do you deal drugs or something, Rob, out of your house?
No, I don't, mate.
Oh, well,
What are you worried about? I didn't know where you live, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Where do you live?
It doesn't matter. We're just going to find out one way or another.
That's all right.
Must be a slow policing day in Australia, huh?
Oh, they'll get the SWAT team for this.
I've got to try and figure out how to get him.
The best way is to throw one of those tire shredders in front of him.
No.
I'm just going to the shop and I'm going back home.
No, you're not. You're a liar, my friend, is what you are.
Why? How would you know?
Well, because I just know.
No, you just can't just know. You have to know, and you have to be able to explain it.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, Vladimir, I know that you were just driving rather slow past my house because I could see it on the camera.
Oh.
And you made a point of that. So the first thing is,
I didn't even notice it. Why don't so?
Well, you don't know where I live, mate.
No, I don't. But so why would anybody else besides you, who apparently sees this guy driving past your house?
Because only Rob lives in Melbourne, and he's the only person who lives in his area. No, I live in there. You just don't know that, though.
Well, how do you know where Rob lives? If you live in the same area as Rob?
I don't know. He just said he did. I'm just guessing.
No, that's not true. You see, you slowed up.
What? No, there's traffic, but though.
No, there was
know
no
where you live.
traffic. There was no traffic.
Yeah, it's full. I just showed you. There was a bus. Wasn't there a bus in front of me?
I saw.
So you got a good memory. So you were focused
saw a
on that
bus.
particular. You were focused on that particular point, weren't you? You're.
What? Focused? I didn't get it. What?
So
point?
I wanna know why you're doing it.
So someone drives up my street.
No. Cut the crap. Hey, cut the crap.
What?
I want to know why you're doing it.
Doing why? I'm doing what? That's what I'm not doing.
Crap. You and I both know that you drove past my place. I want to know why you did it.
Well, I drive past a lot of people's homes. I mean, a lot of people live in those homes.
Yeah. Cut the crap.
I don't know where you live.
Cut the crap.
How could I know where you live, though, Rob? That's impossible. True.
Look at how you're driving at the moment and where your camera's pointing.
Yeah.
When you were driving past my place, you made a point of switching to show that house. I want to know why you did it.
What did I say to make a point of switching to what? Whose house? Your house. What did I say? What happened? That I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, of course you don't, because you're a liar.
I'm not lying. How am I lying?
So you are a liar, my friend. You and I both know that. But I'm wondering why. Is this part of what? Is this part of?
I obviously live here because I'm in my car driving past, right? What? It's not like I came across from another country and like hired a car.
Oh, cut your crap. You're out on Ballarat Road now, aren't you? Or
I don't know. I don't think so.
well, it's where you live, and you don't know.
What? No, I don't live here. I don't live on Ballarat Road.
You're a liar, friend.
What do you mean?
You're a liar.
No, I don't live on Ballarat Road.
So is this part of something to do with Doug? No, what's his name?
Who?
Bulldog?
Who?
Bulldog 101. Do you hang out with Bulldog 101?
Oh, that's friggin'. Everyone knows who that is.
I've never heard of Bulldog 101. Who's that?
He's a guy that I called out for. He drinks a bit, but he had his son on air, and he was sitting there just swearing. And I sort of thought to myself, will I let it go? Will I let it go? But I was feeling a bit embarrassed by it all. So I thought, no, stuff it.
What was that?
I don't know. It's probably a devil or a demon.
So what do you mean he had his sons? He was swearing in his.
His son probably about 7 or 8 years old or 9 years old or something, and he was just swearing away, and his son was swearing as well. And
his son was swearing.
Yeah, and he's an Australian and I'm an Australian, and I just felt embarrassed for us Australians, and so I eventually decided to say something to him. And ever since then, talk about
good on you. That's the way.
Talk about egos and bursting their bubble. He's been most irate about it, and consistently so. And every time I've had a chance to speak to him, I've just asked him, what was the truth of the story? Like this guy, Vladimir.
What?
Now you're going back onto the freeway, see? So you don't live up in sunshine.
Yeah, I do.
You're a liar.
Yes, I do.
You assume that these guys are trusting your word.
I go in my car every day and do this. This is what I do. Every single ask them. If I'm always in my car, 24/7.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because like when I'm doing other stuff, I can just go in and hang out, and I don't have to be at home.
So would you be? You're a troll then, aren't you?
No.
Yeah, I think you are.
No, what do you mean? How can you determine what I am if I'm not? I'm not any of that.
Well, firstly, I know that you drove past my house, and I know that you made a point of me seeing that. That's a fact.
But what did I say to you?
I don't know. What did you say?
You don't know. But you're saying I made a point of it. What was the point then? I'm just asking. Because I didn't say anything.
Sorry, say again?
Didn't say anything because I didn't know.
No. That's not true, because you actually turned the camera to make a point of it.
Oh, what do you mean? Like that? Or
And
something?
I think the other guy, Gohan, is it? Someone made a point of making sure that I looked at your camera. That's right, it was Gohan, because I couldn't quite understand what he was saying.
I must have missed something.
So where's Gohan? Where's Gohan from?
Somewhere overseas, I think.
Gohan, where are you from?
I don't know. It could be walked away from the computer or somewhere.
So Vladimir,
Yeah.
are you a Muslim?
No. What makes you say that?
You sound like a Muslim.
What does a Muslim sound like?
You.
What do you mean, like me?
Hey, does anyone know Vladimir known him for a while? Or?
How the hell can you sound like a Muslim, man? That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't make any sense.
Just a guess. Hey, anyone
what
know?
does a Christian sound like then? Like, I've never heard of that. You can't sound like a Muslim, man. You can only maybe be one, or you can maybe look like one, but there's no particular...
You sound like a Muslim to me.
Why?
Well, you just do.
I just seem like a Muslim.
No, you sound like.
Well, the way it works is that Muslims are cunts, right? And you're a cunt. So therefore you must be a Muslim.
That doesn't make any sense, man. How do I even sound like a friggin' Muslim, man? Like, do I go around saying, whatever they say, squiggle talk? Whatever, no. You gotta watch out for them, mate. They're pretty bad, all those Muslims and that.
Oof, no kidding.
Fuck 'em, mate.
Yeah. Let's do it. All right. Take a note of where I'm going. Let's do it.
Good, got rid of him. That was weird. Not a measure.
I don't know, there must have been some Australian cultural stuff. I had no idea what you were talking about. What was going on there?
No, seriously, it was. It was outside my house, which was spooky. So, I'd love to know more about it. But,
well, maybe you're more famous than you think you are? I don't know.
No, it's not that at all. No, the only thing I can think of is that he might have something to do. He is a person that's tried to, like, there's been a long period where I haven't been online, and he's a person that's tried to contact me, and I just kept pissing it off. So,
well, are you not easy to find? I mean, if you're easy to find, then it doesn't make any sense.
I would imagine you could find me in the phone book.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any. I don't hide.
Well then, are you scared?
I'm not. Look, I'm not sitting here trembling or anything like that. I am a little concerned. I'm concerned and curious as to why he did it. I know he did it. And the only thing I could think of is perhaps some association with that bulldog character. So I hope it doesn't mean that someone's going to.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about or doing in Melbourne there.
Look, all I can tell you is just the honest truth, and that was my house. He was driving past. He did flick his camera at it, and then he's gone off touring somewhere else. So it is what it is. Spooky.
Which one? Christianity or Islam?
What's that?
Which one is spooky? What are you talking about? Christianity or Islam?
No, I wasn't speaking about either. I was just referring to the fact that someone's bloody driving past my house.
Yeah, but he's not a, if it's a friend or foe situation, he's not a foe, if you know what I mean. I don't understand why it's a concern.
Oh, I don't know. I simply don't know. I find it odd, and so it concerns me. That's all.
Well, I think it's time to get your gun, hunt him down, and kill him.
I'm no killer. I'll be the one that gets killed, unfortunately. I'm not a killer. Never have been, never will be. It's just what puts me on edge is not knowing stuff.
What's the AFP?
That is Australian Federal Police. I don't know who the person is.
Australian Federal Police.
Yeah.
They're obviously a bunch of wussies.
What? Wussies?
Wussies. Wussy pussies.
Anyway.
Do people fear the police in Australia?
I don't think so. I don't think it's like overseas. I think that they're generally okay. But I mean, like me, I told that guy I was going to ring the police. I can't because I've got nothing. They'd piss me off because I've got nothing to give them to work on.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was questioning you right there. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. I was just trying to bloody give him something back to think about, get him on edge a bit so I could get, a different outcome from him in the conversation, because he was just denying it. So he's only a young bloke. But yeah, the police over here, they're pretty okay. I mean, most people wouldn't be afraid of them. They do a reasonable sort of a job.
Do they have guns?
Yeah.
Well, fucking be afraid of them.
Hey?
Be afraid of them. They have guns.
No, our coppers don't go around shooting everybody.
Yeah, but I say the kind of things that tend to draw guns out of holsters. These magnetic words I have. I don't like cops. No, I'm just kidding, but I don't like cops. I've never had a gun drawn on me yet, but I still don't like cops.
Yeah, but again, you're still talking about an idiotology, not a person.
Well, you're talking to a person with a very low IQ. That's the hiring policy of all police departments.
Nah, they'd be fine. The reality is they're fine. It's just that and the culture or the bloody society that they have to deal with. It's not usually the person. So I'm a little worried. I'm worried by that guy. You know what I'm going to have to do to manage him somehow.
But you kicked him out, didn't you?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, he won't come back.
Well, he won't be able to come in now.
Yeah, no, I'm concerned about the fact that he's driving around my house.
Well, why don't you go drive around his house? Get him back. There you go.
I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know who he is.
But he's in Melbourne. Everybody knows everybody in Melbourne, surely.
Yeah. You see, I put my name up there, I think, didn't I?
Yeah, you made up some name called, you called yourself Rob or something.
Rob Beasley. Well, that's me. So he could have looked that up.
Well, that's only if the internet exists, and I don't believe that it exists, so it doesn't.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, Christian logic.
Yeah. Yes, that's the thing we've got to bloody solve.
Well, if you believe that Jesus exists, you must sort of buy into the whole soul thing.
No, not at all. I think he was a guy called the Righteous Teacher. And this is so in the Qumran, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they talk about a righteous teacher and a liar and a wicked priest. I think the wicked priest is the Agrippa the Great. Again, we get this term, the Great, which is a phenomenon you see through all of this inquiry. The liar is Paul, and the righteous teacher is Jesus. Because we read in the Gospel of Thomas, which I hate using that term, but we read in there that Jesus hands the baton over to James, his brother, James the Just. When we look at the Christian story, we find that there's this guy called James the Just, who's a bishop over a Christian community, probably for as long as 10 years in Jerusalem. Well, that's a bit hard to swallow. You can't imagine, you know, when you read anything about these Pharisees, they're a sneaky lot of buggers, and it's hard to imagine a Christian and specifically a bishop too, by the way, leading a group of Christians and living in Jerusalem. On the ground, what we have is this settlement out at the Dead Sea at Qumran, and we have a population of religious folk that are sitting out there, and they are called Essenes. So I'm inclined to think. Oh, and interestingly too, in the 70 AD massacre, the Essenes are wiped out. Now they read as a benign sort of religious group, like a bunch of hillbilly Christians, no real form of any sort, yet that whole community gets wiped out by the Romans. To me, it sort of suggests that he might have been the righteous teacher that lived at Qumran.
You know the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah.
Those are all the writings from the Essenes.
Correct.
Yeah. And now these are people who lived. These were another group of crazy people living, out in the desert to get away from the Romans, so they can practice their silly little religion. I don't buy any of that.
Yeah, well, there's another interesting thing in the Torah, right? There's a term called Nazarite. Now, the archaeologists will tell you that there's fuck all evidence of Jesus living in a place called Nazareth.
That's because Nazareth didn't exist at that time.
Yeah, well, it's true. But there is this term called Nazarite. And what a Nazarite is in the Jewish tradition, you know, they're sort of like old school. They, you know, very austere sort of a lifestyle. There was one of the Christians that was talking about the Essenes, and he also calls them Nazareans. So when I saw that, I thought, oh, I know what's going on here. They made up the story about Nazareth and the escape into Egypt because there was no childhood story that could be told or that they wanted told. And yeah, you know, all clues, they all seem to fit, I think. Now, what's happening here with you, Sydney, is you're struggling with you hold a belief and you don't like it being shaken. You don't like the idea of a Jesus existing in the world. So what's happening
I love the idea of Jesus existing in the world. There's just no evidence.
Yeah, that's okay, but you hold a belief. And I'm giving you things that are against that belief.
No. I don't hold a belief at all. I am swayed by proof and evidence. There isn't any, so it's not a belief thing at all.
Yes, but you're resisting the evidence. And
There isn't any. You're saying there's evidence, and no other Christian in the world agrees with you. So that's not evidence for me.
Hang on, no. I said in the Torah there was this term called Nazarite. We can get that, shall we?
Whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter. But what if there is a term called Nazarite?
Hang on.
So what?
Why doesn't it matter?
Well, what's the context?
Well, it's what Jews used to practice in, you know, pre-Babylon, if you like. Not all Jews. It was only for a specific. It's like an elite squad.
The Essenes.
And then the Essenes supposed to have practiced this Nazarite tradition.
They were very, very, very zealot friendly Essenes. Do you know, Rob, by the way, that at the end of the common, or before the common era, you know, before a couple of years before that, and into the first century of the common era, Judea and that whole area was just a mass of violence and civil war, and just horror. It was just kind of like Syria might be today.
So you're referring to
that whole period.
Yeah, you're referring to the 60. I think, when did they start that war or that so-called revolt? Are you including that? So that's the 66 through 73 AD. They call it the Judeo-Roman War. You're referring to that?
No, I'm referring to the Jew-on-Jew war, the civil wars that were happening.
Oh, right. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, there was the brutality that Jew was meting out towards another Jew was on a par with what was happening in the Islamic State today. That's, you know, people don't know the history.
Yeah.
You've got to put it all into context. And you can't think that you know, the Middle Eastern Jesus or the alleged Jesus' time was this idyllic place where people had time to just preach, and you know, families would walk around during the day, and there'd be a preacher on the mound giving a sermon, and you'd listen to it. Nope. Those days were pretty horrible, dangerous. You couldn't trust anyone, and everyone was killing everybody else. You know, you got the Romans, and you got the Pharisees, and then you got the Sadducees, and then you got the zealots in each camp, and you got all sorts of, the Jewish kings and governors. It was a bad time.
And the point is, though, what does that do for
The
us?
point is, though, during bad times, you reach out and you almost believe anything.
But wouldn't they? Oh, you're
No, so
talking.
what I'm saying is that you'd almost believe anything. So let's say you've got this new message of the times. And let's say you've got like in every city there's like in every city there's a juggler. Like in every city there's a guy preaching. Same thing, right? At the end of it all, when the preacher's words obviously don't mean anything because they didn't come true, obviously. History has seen to it that this Jesus may be a kind of a conglomeration of all these people who were walking around talking shit or giving this message, and that's how it made it, into the history books, or how it should have made it into the history books. It's not one person called Jesus. Maybe it's a composite of many people.
No, I don't believe that for a minute.
At best.
No, the thing that sells it for me is the texts themselves and how accurate they are to the way the human being is.
So in the council of 300, in the year 300s, whatever the hell, those councils they were getting together, whatever, yeah. This list wasn't around then, or wasn't presented then. I don't
No, it was buried around about 300, or it was before that council, and I think it was Valentinius who was a so-called Gnostic, who almost became a Gnostic pope, but they found out about him and he sort of got the Khyber. But I think it was part of his collection. That collection ended up being taken out into the desert in Egypt, and this would have been about the time that Constantine was, starting to, put his stamp on Christianity, and it was buried then, and it was lost from that point until they found it in 1945. So it was buried.
1945. That sounds very familiar. In Cairo, in Egypt.
Yeah, Nag Hammadi is the.
No, okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're talking about. Okay, well, that's got nothing to do with Jesus, though.
Hey. Hey.
That was the one where they were just fragments because it was they were using it for like the people who had it in their possession didn't know what it was, and they were just using it for, they'd break off pieces and use it for, I don't know, firewood or something.
Yeah,
so it wasn't very well preserved.
Well, no. It's pretty
Hammadi something or other, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. No, you're reflecting on the 1900 find. So in the 1900s, they found a lot of fragments and that. No. They got decent material from these, I think they call them jars or whatever.
The jars, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that was,
We're talking about the same thing.
No, there's two. They're not as fragmented as you're saying. It's quite.
I'm not saying the whole thing was fragmented. I'm saying a lot of it was lost because of bad. They've just been bad storage and neglect, and then also misuse.
Yeah, well, they're complete. I mean, you read them, they deliver on what they're talking about. So no, they're a complete set, I think.
Hey, what's happening?
Who's this?
Don't know.
Hey, it's me.
Who are you?
Everybody's called me. In England, in English, everybody's called me, and with the Arabs, everybody's called Muhammad. So I don't. What's the difference?
Okay, maybe you can call me Muhammad.
All right, Muhammad. Finally, someone we can talk to. Who exactly is Muhammad?
Who? I have no idea.
We need a Mohammedan in here. You're it.
Yes.
What's everyone doing today?
We're debunking Islam.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're deconverting Muslims today.
Oh, you'll never get them, I don't think, in a first session.
Well, if you're a Muslim out there and you have doubts, Rob is the man to talk to.
Be prepared to be upset.
No, be prepared to be enlightened. You to have a burden lifted off your shoulders like you've never, ever even known was possible.
No, you can't go. There's no avoiding the disturbance. You've got to accept it as part of the course.
Right.
Okay.
Well, guys, look, I'm going to call it quits. Go get the guard dogs out, or
Why? What's going on?
I'm only joking. Okay, see you all. Be good.
Okay.
Oh, listen, if I exit, that'll shut it down on everyone, won't it?
No, it'll just shut it down the live part of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, I was just going to
You from England?
stop the broadcast.
Yeah.
Are you from